And welcome back to the Finish Line Project. And today, let's discuss geriatric dentistry. So, what exactly is geriatric dentistry? Just like geriatric medicine, which deals with the treatment of patients who are mostly above the age of 60. Geriatric dentistry is its exact counterpart, which deals with patients who are above the age of 60, 65, or who may be classified as per the law as senior citizens. So, why is this subject so important? Because just as your pediatric dentistry, where a specialist deals with patients who are younger than 13 years of age, the patients who are above, I would say 60 to 65 or above that age, are the ones who are classified as geriatric patients. Now, as the body changes, senescence sets in. All right. So, one of the major changes that happens in the body is that the entire metabolic structure of the body does regress. The vigor is lost. The vigor is not the same as you would see in a youthful person. And the degenerative changes that are taking place throughout the body will reflect in the oral cavity as well. One of the most common problems that is being faced by elderly patients is that of loss of teeth. And this is exactly where our branch of prosthodontics and crown and bridge comes in. And geriatric dentistry is basically a part of prosthodontics itself, since most of the patients who would require it would be attention are elderly patients. Now, in order to understand the psychology and physiology of the geriatric human body, it is very important to understand the process of degeneration and senescence with age. So, it's not just that the physiology is being impacted by the age-related changes. It is also being impacted by changes that may be social as well as psychological. Because whenever the tissue begins to degenerate, it is not correct all the over. One of the major changes that happens in geriatric patients is that there is a loss of appetite, and the nutrition we receive may not be adequate as per the demand. So the first thing you have to do as a general dental surgeon or as a specialist is to recognize, ask the patient what exactly their diet is. Is their diet sufficient enough meet the demands of the aged body? In case it is not, it is in a way our duty to inform them of the same, and at the same time to bring about corrective measures in the same direction. Alright. So as far as complete denture treatment is concerned, once the denture is placed, generally a respite period of around 10 days to 2 weeks is given, in which the patient is most allowed to simply adjust to the denture, after which they will start eating. No, very common complaint that now with patients we make it was detriment if I am still avoid eating for 5 days. A very simple explanation for the same can be that it's just for these 10 days that you have to avoid eating. Since you've already avoided it for so long, these 10 days, just an addition of 10 days won't do any harm. That is one way of explaining. The second way of explaining is to explain to them that, just as you put a new piece of clothing or a new pair of shoes, they take time to adjust to the body. Similarly, the denture is not a natural part of the body, and since it is something artificial that is being placed inside, so the patient or the body will take time to adjust to that. Alright, so this has to be done the very polite way, or it is just like childhood. Right? And since it's just like childhood, you have to be very gentle when you deal with elderly patients. At times, they are about to get a little more irritated because the patient's levels go lesser as patients grow old. But you have to manage that as a prosthodontist or other dental surgeon. Generally, I do not recommend anybody to start eating before 10 days. So I would say what we use is the diet of day 11. The diet of day 11 is bound to be very clear. One is the vegetable group. The second is the milk group. The third is the dals or lentils group or the wheat group. The fourth group would be the fats group. Alright. When you go around all these four groups, alright, so on the 11th day, you will avoid any kind of that is related to wheat, so it's very rotis, chapatis, naan, or any of these have to be avoided on the 11th day. As far as the vegetable group is concerned, alright, the vegetable group, you can give boiled vegetables on the first day, and the second day will slightly enhance them more or until the source or seed. Alright, on the 11th or 12th day. As far as the milk group is concerned, in the milk group, you can give most milk products, including yogurt, on the 11th and the 12th day. Alright, and this stays the same throughout. As far as the dal and lentil group is concerned, on the 11th day, the dals, lentils, you don't give meat on the 11th day. Alright, the meat can be given only after the 40th, 50th day, once they've adjusted to eating sauce, and these have to be cooked in a semi-solid state so that it's easier to chew. All right. Coming now next to the fats group, they have to be given very sparingly and as per the metabolic demand of the body. Now coming to the next group, which is your basically the cereals group. On the 11th day, you can give poha or any kind of upma or any kind of food which is slightly softer consistency and easier to chew. The same can be advanced to the level of dosa, usappa or paratha by the 15th day. So, bringing you to the basic crux of the matter, the whole thing is that you will start with a softer diet and progress gradually to a harder diet. So, this ways what happens is that your adaptation to the prosthesis, as far as the patient's concerned, the adaptation to the prosthesis is going to be a smooth transition rather than something that is rough. Because in case you advise the patient that now you can eat anything you want right from the first day, they will end up with many sore spots since they are yet to adjust to something new in their mouth. So number one, the first rule is adjustment. The second rule is that once they've adjusted and adapted to it, the second rule is improvement in function. So adjustment and improvement in function, and the third one is complete integration with the human body of the prosthesis. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Finish Line Project. I will bring more such topics in the coming future, and just stay hooked on for the scene. Thank you. To another episode of the Finish Line Project, and आज मैं एक बहुत ही सिंपल टेक्निक आपको बताने वाला हूँ थ्रू आउट अपने दांत साफ रखने के लिए, ताकि आपके दांतों को कीड़ा लग ही ना पाए। बहुत ही सिंपल सा नुस्खा है, ज़्यादातर लोग ये करते ही नहीं है, उसी कारण ये हमारी चेयर पे पहुंच जाते हैं। बहुत ही सिंपल सी चीज़ है। आप जब भी खाना खाते हैं, आप नोटिस करना कि अगर आप उसके बाद में पानी नहीं पीते या कुल्ला नहीं करते तो दांत पे एकदम चिपचिपापन सा आ जाता है और आपको लगता है बहुत स्टिकीनेस हो गई है, पर आप उसको इग्नोर कर देते हैं सोच के चलो यार रात को तो ब्रश कर ही लूँगा, या शाम में ब्रश कर लूँगा, या सुबह में ब्रश तो हो जाएगा। रात को भी लोग ब्रश करके नहीं सोते। मैं एक सिंपल सी एडवाइस दे रहा हूँ, जब भी खाना खाओ कुल्ला कर लो, चाहे सादे पानी से करो, अगर गर्म पानी से करो तो और अच्छा है, अगर गर्म पानी में नमक डाल के करो तो बहुत ही अच्छा है। पर गर्म पानी में नमक को लेके एक डिस्क्लेमर है मेरा कि अगर आपको हाइपरटेंशन है या कोई भी ब्लड रिलेटेड डिजीज है तो नमक मत डालें, नॉर्मल गर्म पानी से आप कर लें। ये मैं डिस्क्लेमर ऑलरेडी दे दिया है। आप इससे फर्क क्या पड़ता है? क्या फर्क पड़ता है? मान लो कि ब्रश तो आप रात को करने ही वाले हो और टूथपेस्ट भी उसमें यूज़ करना है आपने, तो इससे क्या ही फर्क पड़ जाएगा एक कुल्ला करने से? एक सिंपल सा कुल्ला, आप विश्वास नहीं करोगे, आपका जो बैक्टीरियल लोड है द माउथ, बैक्टीरियल लोड मतलब कितने कीटाणु किसी भी फन आपके मुंह में मौजूद है उनको ड्रास्टिकली रिड्यूस कर देता है। ड्रास्टिकली रिड्यूस कर देता है, यानी कि अगर पहले पॉपुलेशन 100 थी, यानी कि 100 की पॉपुलेशन थी, वो उतर के 20 पे आ जाती है सिर्फ एक कुल्ला करने से। और गर्म पानी का करोगे तो 10 पे आ जाती है, और अगर आपकी सेहत ठीक है, खून ठीक है, तो हल्का सा नमक डाल के करोगे तो 5 पे आ जाती है। बट ये नमक वाली बात डेफिनेटली फिर रिपीट करूँगा, हार्ट पेशेंट और ब्लड प्रेशर के पेशेंट का कोई भी ब्लड डिजीज है वो ना नमक डालें कुल्ला करते हुए, नमक का फिर सोडियम लोड बढ़ जाता है। ये सिंपल सी टिप है, एंड ये इतनी हाईली ग्रोथ टिप है कि ज़्यादातर लोग जिनको हम डेंटल चेयर पे देखते हैं, कहते हैं हमारे कीड़ा लग गया है, रूट कनाल की स्थिति आ गई, उनसे जब वो पूछते हैं कि हुआ क्या, आप ब्रश कितनी बारी करते? कहते हम तो 3 बार करते हैं। तो हमने कहा अच्छा 3 बार कैसे करते हैं? ज़्यादातर लोग कहते हैं हम इस तरह से ब्रश करते हैं, जो कि मैं आगे एक वीडियो और बनाऊंगा कि इट इज़ अ रॉन्ग ब्रशिंग टेक्निक। हॉरिजॉन्टल टेक्निक ब्रशिंग टेक्निक जो है वो गलत है, वर्टिकल टेक्निक होनी चाहिए, यानी कि ऊपर के नाक के लिए ऊपर से नीचे और नीचे के लिए नीचे से ऊपर। इसका पूरा डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन मैं आपको अपने अगले वीडियो में दे दूंगा। ऑलराइट, बट ये छोटी सी टिप आप जरूर फॉलो करें, इट इज़ अ लाइफ चेंजिंग टिप। आपका अगर ओरल कैविटी स्वस्थ रहेगा, याद रखिए आप 4 लोगों में खड़े होने वाले हैं, वहाँ पे ना तो मुंह से बास आएगी, और नेचुरली बता रहा हूँ अगर आपके मुंह से स्मेल आती हो ना तो बहुत बड़ा पुट ऑफ हो जाता है आगे वाले इंसान के लिए। अगर आप बहुत ही ज्ञान की बात भी बोल के हट रहे हो ना, वो सारी ज्ञान की बात जीरो हो जाती है अगर आपके मुंह से स्मेल आ रही है। तो इसको हम साइंटिफिक टर्म्स में कहते हैं हैलिडोसिस। इस छोटी सी चीज़ को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए आप प्लीज़ मेरा एक छोटा सा नुस्खा फॉलो करें, सादे पानी नहीं तो गर्म पानी से कुल्ला ज़रूर करें। थैंक यू सो मच, एंड आई विल बी बैक विद अनदर एपिसोड ऑन ब्रशिंग टेक्निक्स।